This is the Milo Sweet Podcast, where you'll learn to get unstuck. Start now. Conquer life's challenges by learning to do difficult. Find quick and clever ways to overcome. Wait, did you think life was going to be easy? Remember, all of your excuses are now dead to me. Let's get started. Guess what time it is? It's time for you to hit the subscribe button and find just 1% that you think will benefit from this. But if you're feeling a little like generous, right? Or you're super free with your time right now, probably doing nothing because you're listening to this. Well, maybe if you're doing something, actually just make yourself free right now. Hit subscribe. What are you waiting for? Hit it. Come on. Hit subscribe. Hey, how would you, like if someone said, well, I'm not in church, right? Like we're not going to a church. I don't think that's going to happen to my kids. What would you say to that?
Still talk to them regardless. Still talk to them. Have that talk with your kids, regardless if a church setting or not. People are crazy out there. You know, this happens in the streets as well. It don't just happen in the church, but it's sad that mine happened in church because that's the least place you think it would happen. You would think it happened on the streets, but it happens it happens everywhere in every kind of setting. You know, I've seen these movies where these moms is out and about and they're clubbing and they leave their children at home with this man and he's trying to sleep with the daughter and just crazy stuff. So it's just so important to talk to your children at a young age. That's what I would tell everyone.
Yeah, and I think like I can attest to like growing up where like I was always given the opportunity to share my thoughts, but sometimes you don't always know, like you might understand sex, but you might not understand like what molestation is, right? So like something you said was interesting was that like that you researched it, you know, once you researched, you understood a lot more. So it's like, unless you give me information for labeling, like I had no idea what mental health is. I think I probably just learned about that recently, like just the term. But I've always been fascinated with how the brain works in psychology, or I love to journal and walk and to write. So I've been doing that since I was a kid, but I didn't know that was called self-care. So just because like you giving me a word to say it, then I say, oh, is that happening? And kids are able to understand that because sometimes they just expect you to mean well by them. That's just what a kid assumes, that you're a friend, or, you know, my parent trusts you. I trust you. And even if they have an instinct that says, this is weird, but they don't have the tool to express it, it can be very confusing for a child. Because they don't know how to say what they're trying to, what's in their brain. And so they don't know if it's a valid claim or not. So I think that it is important to talk about it and to make it so common that they don't hesitate to talk to you about it. Like I think a one-time conversation, and this is just my view, is not enough. I think constantly saying, you know, reminders and constantly making it top of mind. And it's actually kind of weird when you're not used to it. You're kind of like, how much is too much? Like I kind of feel like, am I putting ideas in your head? But I just try to make it where I'm respecting your body and you have access to ask me questions.
And that's what, even when I received Christ in my life, it's like God, I give him credit for my life, for me being born, up to me, everything. I just give God the honor and the glory for everything he ever taught me, because my family didn't teach me anything. But after I received Christ in my life, around about 18, that's when the molestation stopped. Only thing I had was to keep him from bothering me was locking up in a room and reading my Bible. And he would bang on the door like, why are you not letting me touch you? Why are you not letting me do this to you? So, and then he would ask me why I wouldn't let him do what he used to do. And I didn't know what to say. I just locked up in my room and read my Bible. But one day I was watching a talk show. I loved talk shows back in the day. I don't watch them as much as I used to now because TV just didn't change. But I was watching Oprah Winfrey, and this guy was on there just crying, and he was talking about how he was molested. And in my mind, before I seen that TV show, I thought I had an affair. And I found myself crying, just praying to God, like, I'm sorry for messing up their marriage. I'm sorry that I had an affair with this man. I didn't mean it. And it's like, when I seen that on television, I'm like, oh, that didn't have an affair. I was molested. I didn't know what that was. I didn't have a clue what
Right.
molestation was. I just knew that the touches were wrong. He was a married man, and I'm his daughter. I mean, I was his step granddaughter, and I thought I had an affair. And I'm like, I'm the victim, because I was just blaming myself so long until this light bulb came on. I'm like, I was being molested, not having an affair. So you learn along the way.
Yeah, so I think that is important to give kids tools to label things. Like, I think for me, if I had known, like, whoa, all this journaling and reading is like, such a big, it's
Yes.
self-care. It's how
Yeah.
you take care of your mind. I just knew I would feel like I had this huge, like I sometimes would have anxiety or be like,
Mm-hmm.
depressed too long. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, how do I get through this? And I would always think, oh, well, when you read, you feel better. When you write, you feel better. When you draw. So I would do those things, or when I would think about what I was doing and why I was doing it, even if it was a
Mm-hmm.
behavior I didn't like maybe, I had an attitude or something. I don't know. I can't really think of anything right now. But I think if my parents said, this is great for taking care of your
Yeah.
mind, this, for taking care of your
Yeah.
sanity, I actually would have probably implemented it a lot sooner. It didn't happen until, I think I got
Mm-hmm.
married and had kids when I was like, okay, wait a minute. I started to lean heavily
Mm-hmm.
on that system, but I wish I had honored it more with the right tools. So I definitely think it's important. And then just actually knowing that you can have someone to talk to. So, because even, I'm thinking here, let's say you knew what
Mm-hmm.
that was, right? But like, who are you going to talk to
Yeah, but
about it,
like
right?
with my
Um,
situation, that's why my book is so thick. It's like 580 some pages long. But with
oh my
my
gosh.
family, like, I had no one. My grandmother is a leader in my hometown community of Chatham, and the community, which the population in Chatham is like 1,600, something like that. It's a town, it's not a city. But she was well respected in the community, and if grandmama told people I was crazy, then that's what everybody believed, and she did that. And so, like, my aunts, uncles, everybody that really tried to help me, she stopped them from doing that, and she made them believe that I was crazy. And it's still like that to this day. Like, I don't have not one blood relative that talks to me, that calls me, see how I'm doing, nothing. Even when my son died, my 2-month-old son, nobody, some cousins came, but they left soon after. After the funeral, I hadn't heard from them anymore. But my mom, my dad, my aunts, my grandma, none of them came to my funeral, to my baby's funeral. So, back to what I was saying, my grandmother she have a popularity in the community, so that's why I didn't have nobody to talk to. I didn't have nobody to say this man is molesting me, because nobody believed that I could do anything. I was called crazy my whole life just because I had seizures. So that's why, like you were
What do you,
saying earlier, you use writing and drawing to help you. That's all I did coming up. I wrote, I drawed, I painted. That was my outlet. Like, I would draw on a piece of paper what I wanted my life to be, or I would write it in a poem, or I would write a letter to God. That was my outlet. I didn't have another person to talk to because I knew nobody wasn't going to believe me.
that is powerful. Like I don't even know if I've written what I thought my life would be like. And I don't even know if I don't even know if I could have been in that situation and still, had hope. Like, I think that's really
Yes.
powerful, especially right now in the climate we're in. It's just, having someone believe you, like, hey, this
Mm-hmm.
happened to me. And having someone that maybe is influential say,
Yeah.
no, it didn't. It's very interesting
Mm-hmm.
dynamic, right? So you wrote your book for
Mm-hmm.
your brother. Tell me about
Oh my
him.
gosh. Tom, we call his name is Thomas. We call him Tom for short. He was the sweetest relative. Um, he was out of all my siblings. I have one living brother. I have one sister from my mom, and my dad has 6 other girls. But which I have 6 sisters. But out of all the relatives, he was special to me. He always called me and told me, Alexis, you got to stay with the Lord. And oh, I love you, sister. I mean, when my senior year for high school, my grandmother, she didn't buy me anything. She didn't want to really get me anything. But I told Tom, I said, Tom, I said, I didn't get no class ring. He was like, you didn't? I said, no, I didn't get one. So when I went to go check the mail, he brought me a class ring for my senior
Hmm.
year. He introduced me into pushing my art ability. So he got me involved with this class called Art Instruction Schools, and I took a course of art because of my brother. When it was time for me to move here to Mobile, I was like $200 short from Chatham to Mobile, and he gave me $200. And so I look at it as he sowed into my life to get where I am. So he was always kind, he was always sweet, but he struggled with living with HIV.
All right, that's another episode in the books. Hello? Hello? I said it's over. Why are you still listening? Like, seriously, the episode is over. If you're still listening right now, you know what? You're probably a chronic procrastinator. Guess what? I'm still listening to. Come on, for real, seriously. We gotta go do something productive. No, like, for real. No, for real, for real. Okay, you can keep listening.